Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to Continuous and Never-Ending Improvement, or CANI as we like to call it. I'm Jake Shortfager, joined as always by Miss Olivia White, Miss Samantha White, and Jalen Whisker Phillips. It's going to be a Jalen show today, and we should have a good one. But today we're counting the cost of freedom. With Independence Day right around the corner, and it'll probably be Independence Day by the time we post this, but yeah, go ahead if you feel inclined to like, subscribe, comment, share your thoughts, share with a friend, any of that good stuff. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to the ladies.
Yeah, so just a simple generic question. What do you guys consider freedom?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this before, but for me, I felt inclined to start with, who the sun sets free is free indeed. That's what it means for me today is no matter what's going on, being free from it, kind of like we talked about the Bible study that we watched, probably a couple months ago now, but when Paul was in prison, in chains, and didn't mention it one time in that book, he was truly free. He wasn't focused on the imprisonment and wasn't imprisoned in his mind throughout his circumstances, even though his circumstances he was in prison and wasn't technically free, but God had freed him. That's what it means to me.
Yeah, I think for me it's like being free of your own choices, but also a level of protection that comes along with it. Like, I wouldn't want to be somewhere where it's an absolute free-for-all. Like, of course, we have freedom of speech, which is amazing, but you also don't have freedom to go and commit any crime you want to, so a little bit of both in there.
Yeah.
I do agree. I think like it's a mindset in a way. We do have a lot of freedom of choice and free will and independence and opportunities, and I think like your mindset around it kind of determines the level of freedom. Like you said, whether you're in jail or in a country where you don't feel you have as much freedoms, it's kind of the way you think about it. Is something that we have free will in.
Yeah, I agreed. I definitely think it's a mindset thing more than anything. But you said something I've never heard that I agree with even more is like the protection that comes with it. I don't know, but when you said that, it really resonated with me when I'm thinking freedom, because like, yeah, to be free to make the choices you want to make for yourself, like what you think is going to be best for your life, and that's where it hit my home, because and at the same time be almost like protected, you know what I'm saying? And like, yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, and I mean, I can attest to that because, being in recovery now, and obviously got there from drinking and driving and not proud of that, but, our choices and our actions have repercussions, and that led to me having the privilege and freedom of driving stripped away from me for a little while. But I don't have to let that be my identity of, I can't drive and be miserable every day till I get my license back or whatever it might be. So that's where like the being set free in a different way from that, even when some freedoms might be taken away for a period of time to kind of, it's just again God using all of it for good to show us that those things of the world aren't what truly matters. There's another level of freedom that He offers.
Yeah, I think there's like a level of beauty and freedom that things aren't really like taken away forever. Like it's not like you're banned for life now. Like there's something like nice about if you do mess up some of your freedom, even like parents when they give you freedoms and it's like, okay, but you threw a party at our house. Like, yeah, you're probably gonna get grounded for a while, but you're not gonna be stuck in your room for the rest of your life. So
Yeah, there's opportunity in it. With 4th of July upcoming, it's a celebration of freedom. How do you guys show gratitude for your freedoms, or is that something you think about often? Is that a day that reminds you to think about it, or otherwise we don't really acknowledge or recognize how many freedoms we have?
Yeah, I probably don't think about it as much as I should. I think it's easy to, especially being in America, to kind of take it for granted. You know what I mean? Like I see, or I hear stories of like our missions pastor coming back from like Pakistan and Zambia and places like that where I mean, they just don't even have the technology or like, access to certain things, and there's not freedom from, certain levels of persecution, even though we do still have, levels of racism and, sexism and things like that here. It's not perfect, but, it's all work in progress, but I think it's easy to take some of it for granted, and it's just a good reminder that, we do have a level of freedom that not everywhere has, and that's all obviously glory to God. He granted it, when he gave us victory for Independence Day way back when on the 4th of July. But yeah, it's like I said, it's still a work in progress, and it's something that I could think of more and appreciate more.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think large scale it's something I think about, like the huge things, kind of like you're saying. But I think I forget the small things too, like the freedom of just being able to go to a grocery store. Like that's not a luxury, and I don't think about like the luxuries that we have as much as I do. It's just I've gotten kind of spoiled and used to it, but there is a lot to be thankful for as far as the freedom that we do have and the opportunities. I mean, even like working every day, like some people dread their feet to like go to work, but you're not being forced to work like you could be elsewhere, so.
Yeah, I do think it's really easy to take for granted in our day to day, and I think that's like important, and it kind of like to look at a bigger scope, like mission trips and other places, and understand, because that kind of humbles us in a way and makes us realize, oh yeah, like you said, the small things other people don't get to experience. But I think it's conversations like these, or when you look at oppression in other places, that make me realize it. And then just going through a day to day, it's really easy, I think, for at least myself to not realize the small things that we are free to do.
See, for me, I would love to experience a different country. I really would. I don't know. I would just love to see it versus comparing it, the good with the bad. Obviously, the good always is going to look super good. I'd want to compare the good with the good. You know what I'm saying? I definitely, though, to answer your question, think I take a lot of freedoms for granted. Yeah, I definitely do. I think, though, that you guys know how I feel about the 4th of July. Not a fan at all. Don't think it's a celebratable holiday, period. But I say that to say, like, that's not what reminds me to think about what I'm taking for granted. It's, my Lord and Savior, essentially. You know what I'm saying? Because that's where everything comes from. And, like, that's just, and I mean, I'll be real, I take that for granted all the time just because, like, not everybody, like, as simple as literally waking up the next day. Not everybody has the opportunity to do that. You know what I'm saying? And, like, there's some, like, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but, like, I'll trend where, like, some days, some mornings, like, hell yeah, I'm up, thank you God, like, yeah. And there's some where it's just like, I'm up, I'm tired, and, like, I'm taking it all for granted, the life that I'm living.
There is a level of freedom of you being able to say that, though, which is something to be, like, happy for, is you're allowed to sit here and say, I don't want to celebrate it, I don't think it should be celebrated, and you could get executed if you lived somewhere else for saying, I don't want to celebrate this nation's holiday. So, I mean, there's even a level of freedom of you being able to say that right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious, what would be like your top 3 to 5 other countries?
I only got 2 right now. Australia, well, maybe 3. Australia, Denmark, Amsterdam. One of those 3 I want to check out. And I'd say Amsterdam at the top. And then Australia, then Denmark.
And what is your basis with not, supporting or recognizing 4th of July when you're answering these other countries? Like, do you understand their history and maybe some of the oppressions that might have happened there?
I don't. That's why I really want to check it out, just to see, like, because obviously you guys, I talk a lot of big talk in terms of, I don't think, again, this is a big deal, this holiday, 4th of July at all, for multiple reasons. So that's why I'm really curious. I would love to go see another country just because it's like it put good next to good, you're gonna see how good you really put good next to bad, you're gonna see how good you really have it. But that's why I'm like, put good next to good to see maybe it's just like this everywhere, and it's just the good and the bad.
But to see your argument is looking back at history in America. If you go to Australia today, you're not going to see, just by visiting and like being a tourist, what you're referring to as your baseline for not wanting to celebrate the freedom we have here on the national holiday, you know.
I mean, honestly, it would just be.
If you could research the history.
I guess I'd want to have like a lot of conversations with people that look like me, period, to see like how it went, because even today I'm talking about history and I'm talking about things I didn't go through. I'm born free and born this, that, and other, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I mean, all the, what did you say?
Praise God.
Praise, amen, like, literally, amen, but like, that's what I would want to do, is I would want to connect with someone similar to me and just hear their 2 cents, hear what they got, because they've lived in it, obviously, and I'm just visiting. And I only have this, I almost said bogus, but I only have this opinion because of, obviously, the country I do live in, you know.
Because that could be one person's POV. You could find someone here in America that looks like you and has a different POV as well. It's just perspective, you know?
Yeah,
it's not like the
1000%
baseline of the history.
Yeah, 1000% could. But for me, what it was just understanding and the family aspect and like my family and understanding like what they actually went through and like knowing some of that. And it's like, yeah, no, this ain't it. America ain't it, you know? But that's the only difference where 1000% I could find another person. I'd honestly be interested, and it might be a conversation I should have. Now I got a couple people, but more or less Robert McClendon. I'd love to hear his POV, because no offense, love him to death, but obviously he's a little up there in age, so he's experienced it way worse than what I had to. And from my understanding, he's already got a great opinion on America and the country. He thinks so. I never really asked him because you know my opinion. But no, I'm just saying, he's always seemed like he did, because I mean, good, solid dude, and wasn't he in the military too?
Yeah.
He's a vet.
Oh yeah,
That's
that's right.
well.
Say it again.
Thanks for
That's
your
a very
service, Robert.
passionate,
Yeah.
like very passionate about it as well. He
Yeah.
never spoke on it like he was forced or felt bad for doing it.
That's so true. But that's why I'd love to hear his perspective.
I mean, that's a great point, though. I'm glad you brought up Robert, because that's a great, I think, person that embodies, you know, like, obviously what happened in the past was terrible, but, like, thank God it's, like I said, even though it's not perfect still today, that it's not as bad as it was in the past. And, I mean, obviously I can't speak on it to that level, but, I mean, yeah, I don't have to be a part of the problem, you know, I mean, thank God, and that things are at least getting better. You know, it's about progression, not perfection. But yeah. I mean, because I definitely feel. I think the thing is too, at least for me, is like there's less ignorance for us when we look at America. Like we're aware of what corruption goes on here, and you know the bad side of it as well as the good. And maybe sometimes we choose to focus on what's bad rather than the good. When we look at other people or other countries, there's more ignorance there because we don't necessarily know the history right off bat. We'd have to do the research, and it's just easy to pick out, well, like, look how good that is, look how good this is, you know, but there's more ignorance involved to the point for all of us if we don't know the history of the entire world of just, well, yeah, it looks so good over there now, but we don't, it's only, you know, appealing to our ignorance of, I don't know, the corruption or what goes on there, you know. So that's why I think too, like you said, to just experience them, you know, and thank God for the level of freedom that is everywhere. You know, I think there is a level of pride involved that I don't necessarily agree with, you know, the prideful side of it with like basically like, you know, we're the most free, we're the best, you know, I mean, we're a great country, don't get me wrong, but like the saying that we're the best and everyone else is beneath us, like there's a level there that's like, okay, don't get too ran on patriotism and, you know, forget to be grateful and humble about it. But yeah, there's definitely a level of ignorance involved when, you know, we just look at the bad and how bad it was and what's still wrong with it rather than appealing to where we only see good from other things or other countries.
Yeah.
I think that's a great point too, because I take like the holiday more as like a point to bring yourself back to reality and have that thankfulness. While I see what you're saying, and maybe that's why people do get a skewed opinion, is it shouldn't necessarily be celebrating like we are better than everyone. It's like,
Yeah.
like we should be thankful that we have the freedoms we do, and I think that probably skews some people's opinion. But at least for me, it's like I said, it's kind of like bringing me back to earth and being like, I'm thankful to be here and have the freedoms I do have.
Yeah, because when we did our, I don't know if it was our characteristics little bracket, like
Yeah,
gratitude
that's-
1,
yeah.
and it is a day, you know, whether you stand for everything it stands for or not, to just have a check-in on gratitude, if you look at it that way, at least from the positive POV to that point.
Another reason I don't really stand for July 4th, no offense, but can we sit here and say that America is a country, a grateful country, like a country that is displaying gratitude?
Well, who are you looking to towards that? Because that could be a hasty generalization, because there's definitely certain people that are and certain people that
There
aren't. You
definitely
can't
is,
group a
but-
whole country together that every single person in that country thinks this way and is not grateful like we are. We just said it.
But what
And
I'm
we're
saying is
Americans.
like, that's why I'm so, I really want to see a different country and experience what that's like. Because just like Jake's saying, what Jake was saying about our American pride, everybody knows, everybody and their brother knows. In like different countries, they know, like, oh, he's an American, and it just this, that, and the other. And it's like, I don't want that to follow me. That's not me at all. Like you said, there's some people, there aren't some people. I think I'm one of those not people, but I'm an American,
I
so.
mean, that's a skewed POV, because my best friend is an immigrant from Ukraine and they would literally kill to come to this country.
Yeah.
So some people might be like, Americans are egotistical and think they got it all going on, and some people are like, they have so many opportunities and freedoms we don't have. I would do anything to get there. Her family won a lottery to come here, and it felt like winning, like the Mega Millions to them.
Yeah.
So they could come here, have those freedoms and opportunities. So just as many people as you think, like, oh, like the stereotype of someone in France is like, oh, obnoxious American. Like, think of all the people that are like, oh, I would die to be in America. There's just as much, you know,
Yeah.
if not more.
That leads into a question that I had. Sorry, I'll let you go, but just since we kind of got on the topic about it, but I did write down like what cognitive distortions might we have around freedom and our freedoms here, because I mean, again, it's easy to say everyone knows Americans are egotistical, but also not everybody feels that way, you know. So to generalize that everybody feels that way is, in a way, a distortion, rather than just like some people might be grateful and think, again, that when Pastor Gary goes out to Pakistan, he probably doesn't show up and they're like, oh, here's this egotistical American coming over here, like here's this generous man that's grateful for what God has done in his life.
So
and he wants
here's
to spread it here.
What's happening is like it's going from, we're talking about it, going from the good to the bad. So of course, if you take an American in the good and you put them in a bad country, yeah, everybody's going, oh, we want to get there. But put that same American in Australia, put that same American in Denmark, Amsterdam, and it's like, oh, you're American. You know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
I'll
So
give
it's
you
like,
another POV to this, because I took German for years and have been to that country. In terms of the history, like, and that's something we discuss all the time, they don't educate their native citizens to what happened with the Holocaust and Hitler. Like, it's not in the textbooks. Like, we talk about the bad that we did and maybe we could do better job or more and discuss it, but like there's countries that do have a lot of freedoms in Europe, like Germany. It's very comparable to like in Amsterdam in terms of like their policies, that don't educate people on the history. Like they wouldn't even know to have that conversation, because they might learn that when they're a teenager, because they want to hush hush and suppress it instead of be like, hey, let's lay it out here. This is what we did, it wasn't right, and this is what we're doing now. They're like, no, let's just like hide that because we're not proud of that, so let's just not talk about it. Like that happens in countries too.
cool.
Those
Like that's I don't care.
So you don't care to know the history, but you're referring to the history?
I'm referring to this country. There could be better countries. That's all I'm saying. And also referring to Independence Day sort of
Which,
crapshoot.
I mean, we kind of covered that though with the, it's not so much about the pride like the pride of it, because again, I don't agree with pride. It's one of the 7 deadly sins, you know, and that's why there's problems all over the world, because sin is in the world, the great fall, you know what I mean? The fall from grace. Like, sin is in the world, and that's why we need forgiveness and we need salvation through Jesus Christ to be freed from that, you know, but that doesn't mean it goes away. It's still all around us, you know. We're still going to slip up, we make mistakes, but to be able to be free here and do that, but it's, again, not so, it's being grateful for what we have and not so much being, I kind of already touched on this, but like, we're better than everybody. Like, some people might have that view, but it's not the entire American population that has that view, so we can't generalize it in that way, because some people are just grateful for the freedoms that we have and aren't so prideful. You're a good example of that, that there might be some countries out there that are better, you know what I mean, or that might, like, Iceland comes to mind. I think it's Iceland, at least, where like aren't they like the happiest population in the world? You know what I mean? Like, that's what came to mind when I asked you the question of like, where would you want to experience? Like, Iceland would probably be number 1, just because, like, but again, it goes to my ignorance. I don't know the history of Iceland. I don't know what issues they do have. I just know, based on one study, that they're like the happiest population, which is cool. But
yeah, I think like with it too, instead of like it's like a shift of focus too. Instead of like thinking like, oh, but it could be better. Like, be happy because it could be a lot worse, and that's why I keep bringing up like the horrible countries where you don't have many choices. Is like. And that's what I'm thankful for, is because it could be a lot worse, like a lot worse.
Yeah, I saw a cool video today actually on Instagram, and he was talking about, like, he was on the beach and there was a crazy storm cloud out in front of him. I mean, it looked like it was just about to rain, and then he spun and he was like, beautiful sunset on this side. He's like, I'm in the same spot. He's like, but it's what I choose to look at. You know what I mean? I can look at the beautiful sunset, or I can look at, wow, that storm's coming in quick. And it's the same thing with America and our freedoms in that. You know, we can look at all that's wrong and the storms that are brewing, or we can look at the beautiful sunset, you know, and what's good about it. And not necessarily, again, not being prideful of, well, it's the best, everybody else sucks, because that's not true. Other people don't suck, you know what I mean? Other countries are just as great. That's why we welcome them with open arms, even if, I mean, I don't agree with the deportation. That's a whole other thing, but like, that's why what it stands for is good, and that's something that we can look at and be like, yeah, we're going to hell in a handbasket, you know what I mean? But I have faith that, you know, one day we'll get back to, like, let's welcome everybody with open arms, because that's what we were built on, and that's part of what makes this country great, is that we know other countries are great, and there's people that obviously want to escape from what's going on there, and that's what we were built off. Even if we had to progress to this point, you know, we didn't have it all figured out in the beginning, clearly. But
clearly,
you know what I mean, we're willing to help people out when we can, and that's, I think, something we need to get back to. But
yeah, I mean, I kind of heard you say under your breath a little bit that you disagreed with the point of like looking at situations like it could be worse. Is that what you were saying?
No.
You disagree with? What was
I
that
definitely
about?
think that. I was just gonna say it's the same like that with the good countries too. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can look at the bad, you can look at the good, like that. I was just saying, like, without being rude, I hear your point, and it's a valid point, but
I think
it doesn't have much to do with the argument.
I think our problems are just a lot smaller here. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, yeah, it'd be amazing to have free healthcare, like I think like Iceland or Greenland or something does, but it would also suck to literally not have a choice who I want to lead the country, or
See, but now we're talking about the bad again. Like, compare the good with the good.
But it humbles
you know?
you to be like, you can't say
Yeah.
that
But
somebody would kill to be in my shoes, so I should just be grateful and humbled by that.
No,
That's not looking
you
at the
should,
bad,
and
that's-
I'm not saying I'm not grateful and humble that I'm not in America or in the United States. I'm just saying I'm not going to choose to celebrate the 4th of July. I'm not going to stand behind it. I'm not going to support that. Not at all. For various reasons.
But you seem to support the values we're touching on in terms of being grateful for what we do have, and that's what it's about. So where's the disconnect?
See, that's what it's about for you guys. That's what it was about for me. So that's where the disconnect is.
So do you understand the holiday? Then what is it about personally for you if you're making a holiday
It's
personal?
everything's first off. But what I'm getting at is it's the 4th of July. We're celebrating our independence that we already killed these people for and stole their land. And then that's initially the first point, right? From the morals and how we got here. And then I'm factoring all the slavery and all the legalized slavery and just everything from there. And it's like, what are we really celebrating here? Like, are we just doing this because one of our founding fathers said, hey, Christopher Columbus killed 18,000 of these Indians and now it's our land. So now it's the 4th of July and we need to celebrate it because it's ours.
Well, it's not
What the
a
heck?
Columbus Day.
Regardless, you know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, I don't know.
Like, and that holiday's not celebrated anymore for that reason. Like, this is a different holiday.
It got switched
Yeah.
more from us being free from those things, from the freedom of slavery, from women being able to work. Like, that's what a lot of people celebrate it for, is the freedom from all the bad America has done in the past. Like,
Yeah.
I think you think people are still out there like, yeah, we stole land from people, go 4th of July. Like, I think a lot of people celebrate it like, yay, we have freedoms, we can practice free speech, we have freedom of religion. There
If
is no
that's
more
the
legalized
case, then
slavery.
you tell me what's Juneteenth and why is that something? Because that's like, we had to have our own free day because that wasn't the case. You know what I'm saying?
Because
that
it's
was the day
specifically
they were
catered
free.
towards that.
But
Yeah,
all I'm
it's
saying-
specifically catered towards that. 4th of July could be for women as well. It could be for different religions,
Yeah.
like Islam or Jewish. Like that's
Or
specifically
immigrants,
for
you know,
that.
or
yeah.
U.S. citizens,
But-
celebrating
Yeah,
the
it's
fact
for
that they
everyone.
came here and
But
have opportunities.
Can we agree that it's not for me? And that's why I feel like this.
It's for everyone.
You're
Who
an
are
American.
you guys to tell it's for everybody? You know
Because
what I'm
you're an
saying? Like,
American.
so
you cannot.
that's-
you have
that's
the
where-
right
so
to
that's-
not
but
celebrate
that's
it,
where
but it
what
isn't.
we just talked about, like accepting people's opinion and accepting their own. Like, I accept it. I hear you guys. You have very valid points, and you're all right. I'm sorry. I just don't feel the same way. I'm not going to. And
And
that's
that's
it.
totally
Yeah,
fine.
that's
We're just
okay. It
discussing
seems
it
as
though.
if-
So do you
Right.
think it's, well, based on what you said, do you think it's wrong that Juneteenth has its own day? Because
Not at
I
all,
think
not
it
at all.
deserves its own day.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
You wouldn't want it lumped into
No, I don't
to
think.
the whole to where it's like, okay, well, we're just gonna brush over that. Like, it got its own day to recognize, like, this is the day where we wrote a wrong. You know what I mean? That was in
Yeah.
the past.
Yeah.
You know.
I understand what you're saying.
But
So I do think it should be a day, but well, I mean, if I'm really speaking, I don't think it should be a day because I think the whole slavery is BS and yeah, all that.
and
So
am
we
I
should-
wrong? Maybe I'm wrong in thinking this, and I feel kind of foolish saying this on camera. But is Independence Day? Maybe it's a simple question.
I was
What is
literally gonna look
Independence
this
Day?
up.
You know what I mean?
The
Because-
actual day.
Because again, just we talked about it before. Like, I know, okay, it's the day that we signed the Declaration of Independence, correct? But wasn't that seceding, like, from Britain? You know what I mean? Who came over and did all the stuff that you're saying I don't want to celebrate? It wasn't signing that, was turning away from who did all that?
Maybe.
Yeah, it was officially declared the 13 established colonies are now legally separate from Great Britain. That's like, it was the day.
Yeah, so they came over, they did all that, and then we said, well, we don't stand for that, so we have Independence Day where we separated our independence from the people who came in.
Well, now
Did
it's
all that, and now we have
It's pretty much established.
now we have
in the most
reservations
famous
for
country.
the Native Americans, and again, could probably do a better job at recognizing that, you know.
Yeah.
But like, there is protected land that says, okay, yeah, again, we're trying to do our best to right a wrong to what was done to you in the past.
Yeah.
You know?
Forgiveness. We're right or
Yeah.
wrong.
yeah.
And
Amen. Figure
and then again, it wasn't perfect, so then we went to Civil War, and again, the right side won, where it was, yeah, we don't agree with slavery, so let's fight about
Yeah.
it. You know, there's a time for war, a time for peace. And, you know, the right side won. God granted victory again, and we moved forward from that. And then, even though it still wasn't perfect after that, you know, we're where we are at today, and we can be grateful for that, even if there's still progress to be made.
Amen.
I agree.
Or move to a better country.
See, that's just the hot take right there because you're right. We can agree to disagree. If it doesn't have the same meaning
We
to
have
you,
the freedom.
that's okay.
We have the freedom to move to another country if we
Yeah.
want. They don't hold us prisoner here.
We do.
They might not let you in for
Yeah.
a while, but
That's a really good point that I was gonna bring up because I was watching this podcast and she has her birth father who hasn't been in her life is like a citizen of Spain and she's trying to get citizenship in Italy and she said she either has to go back to
Oh.
school or wait 9 years or get her birth and all these hoops to jump through, where it's like you can come into America legally in comparison, depending on the circumstances, in some better ways and time frames than in other countries as well. Like,
Absolutely.
it's not so easy. You can't just be like, hey, I'm here and now I'm a citizen.
Yeah.
Like, that takes a lot of time.
I mean, we have an aunt that grew up in Bosnia, which was a war country, and she was allowed to have citizenship here because she was living in a war country and it was safer for her to be here. Like, that's such a beauty.
Refuge.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, I'm just saying, you're saying, like, it's not about ranking what country's better or best, because we could go tit for tat on a million
That's what
different
we're
ways.
doing right now. It's
Absolutely.
going tit for
Yeah.
tat, and that's why it's like, whoa. Just
No,
give me a second to
because
research
it's
a
the
country that's the
attitude
same.
of lack of appreciation.
Yes,
can
there's
be a
always
bit
going to be lack of
frustrating.
appreciation. I'm sorry. It's going to happen.
But there's a lack of forgiveness, and that's your
But I think we're
baseline
getting
That
tit
wasn't
for tat
argument.
because the argument's centered around, correct me if I'm wrong, but your belief that Independence Day is about
You're right.
celebrating that America is the best when we're discussing that that's not what it's about.
Yeah, no, no.
Because
I mean,
there's
you're
no
right.
scale to say that this is the best. It's just celebrating the freedom and independence that we have.
So I guess here's what I'm saying.
The day that we broke away
We
from
celebrate
being
that
controlled by
half of
Britain.
us were free. So that's the new one since we found out that it's not Britain because that's what we're breaking free from. But then we got to also keep in mind not all of us were free. So that's why again
But we
this day
all
we're
now,
free.
today,
But
we
that's why
are.
this day though doesn't apply to me because the 4th of July wasn't for us, but for me. That's Juneteenth. You know what I'm saying?
But it is
So that's why it's
now.
like, I know, but that's why my, I guess, attitude and spirit and, hey, it's Freedom Day is all towards Juneteenth. And when this day comes around, it's just another Friday, period.
I mean, it's a
I mean, I
celebration.
get what
of
you're saying a
freedom.
little more now. That explained it. I get what you're saying a little more now, but
But I do want to say, like, I
if
understand.
you get 2 days.
It doesn't feel like you do in a way because it's like you're punishing people's grandparents and not realizing how far we've come and that it's a day for all of us to have unity and celebrate.
Yeah.
Like there's special days for different things, but it's just like you don't want a collective day where you can celebrate with like your white brothers and sisters, just like your black brothers and sisters.
Yes,
you can
I
only
would
like
love
we have to celebrate different races days on. I mean, maybe that's
Was the
Let's see what's
Declaration of
happening.
Independence what had the amendments in it? Or that was the bill? What was that? Like freedom of speech, those things. Or am I
Might be the
wrong?
Bill of Rights. I don't know actually.
Let me see.
I feel like I
'Cause
should
I feel
know
like that might
this.
be a part of it.
Yeah.
To where we get to operate under that and make these
Excuse me.
decisions to free people, you know, and talk about things that when we became free to change laws and not be controlled by whatever Britain wanted to do here.
Yeah.
You know.
I just think what you're saying about the 4th of July could be applied to Thanksgiving, but you celebrate
is.
Thanksgiving.
It could be, and yeah, I mean, I do celebrate it. But you got to keep in mind, I celebrate Thanksgiving. That's the Grateful Act or Grateful Day. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
Why
so.
can't
What you're
this be a
saying?
Grateful
So
Day,
why can't
though?
this be
Because-
another day of
because
Thanksgiving?
So Thanksgiving literally is wrapped around being grateful. This is wrapped around independence and being free from Great Britain.
But
And
that's
again,
your
we're
POV.
not
That's
all-
not how we're viewing it.
Okay, then that's okay. Then we agree.
But
to
you could
disagree.
choose.
Do
You
I
can
have-
think what you want, obviously, but you could choose to look
You have
at
freedom,
it in
you
a
have
better.
freedom to do that.
But you could choose to look at it in a more positive light. That's all we're like. I
And do
think
you
we're
feel like-
trying to get at because we love you. Like you could have joy on this day, not hate in your heart around it.
It's just another day. That's all it is. There's
But we
no
don't
hate.
feel that way. Or
Okay,
I guess I'll
I'm
speak for
gonna
myself.
gas
I
you
don't
guys
feel
up and
that way.
support you guys. Hey, heck yeah! But if you ask me how I feel about it, I'm not gonna lie and say, "Oh, I love 4th of July. Let's shoot a firework off." No, forget that. You catch me inside. How about that? How about that?
I'm gonna shoot a firework through your window. I'll be outside your house with a sparkler. So.
That's
It
right.
just like
Couldn't do that in Australia.
I just keep circling back to the forgive thing. Like that's what's bothering me
What-
is because you talk so much about like forgiveness, but this seems like a lack of it. is holding you back from having?
It seems to me now that you're
appreciation?
just trying to prove me wrong and change something.
No, I
because-
said I'm just trying to like have
No,
you have
because
a
you're
better
bringing up,
outlook
because
on
this is
it.
a fallacy right now. Like, you're bringing up the forgiveness when we're not talking about forgiveness. We're talking about my opinion on 4th of July and your guys' opinion on 4th of July. And I'm happy for you guys. I really am. And don't get me wrong. Yes, you're right. Long term, you're right. Because that's what it should be, right? But in the day, like, I don't think any different of it. It's just another day. Well, thank God. Hopefully I'll wake up tomorrow. But yeah, it's just another day. I don't think you should try to change my opinion or anything like that. I will support you guys. And
Have you ever looked at it in the way that if there wasn't an Independence Day, would there have ever been a day where the slaves were freed? Because
No.
that's when we became able to make our own decisions.
No, I look at it in the sense of
Maybe that.
I can't believe our leaders are so greed hungry that they took a whole culture and made it a part of the system just to try to help the freedom system, but it really wasn't helping them. So that's
That's happening everywhere during that time frame.
not everywhere.
Because I mean that's
A lot
just the
of
way that I
places
look at it too. It's like
America.
if we never would have had the 4th of July, I mean there wouldn't have been, like without that, would women be able to vote? Would, you know what I mean? Would there be the level of equality that we have now, even though some people don't have that, you know, and we're free to have our own opinions,
Sure.
which is a beautiful thing too. But, you know, like would those things have changed without this day? And I think that's something, that's why I'm grateful for it, is because I think change was possible, you know,
Agreed.
because of this day, and that we have obviously Juneteenth, and you guys are able to vote now. Well, you women, I should say. But you women are able to vote now because of this day. That we said, well, you know, we're not going to be controlled by what they want to do. We're going to make our own decisions, and yeah, we made some poor decisions still along the way, but you know, I'm grateful for the good ones that we made.
And I mean,
I was just gonna say it could have got really, really bad if Great Britain did win and then they continued to control everyone and everything. I mean, they had monarchies. We could all be living under just a giant king or queen now and have no choices of anything.
not accurate.
I mean,
I'd have been prince. Don't do that.
They had slaves.
Royalty.
Great Britain had
I
slaves,
came
so-
from royalty. Okay, guys. Just kidding. We all did. But I was just gonna say, no. Back to your point. You're right.
We are all sons and daughters of a king.
Amen. I think that's what you got.
just not Prince
You know.
Charles.
And not Prince Adrian. Who's my prince? That's besides the point.
The true king.
I was gonna say, yeah, you're 1,000% right because, like, if Independence Day didn't happen, your guys, no offense, you girls aren't voting. We probably don't have Juneteenth. I don't know how those things would play out, but what I'm getting at is, like, I do genuinely believe everything happens for a reason. So, like, yeah, I'll answer it. I've never thought of it like that, even though I believe that happens. I've never thought of, like, even the 4th of the month of what 7 is it? Even though that had to happen, it had to happen.
I didn't say it.
But no, I can't say it. I've never really thought of it like that, and that does pose just further thoughts because I again genuinely believe it all happens for a reason, and like that's sort of, I guess I don't have any other ways.
I'm not trying to dictate your opinion about it. I'm just trying to help you have more of an open mind around it.
Yeah. Well,
That's why I asked the question.
Yeah.
You change your opinion. I love you the same, whether you change your opinion or not. But
I'm gonna need at least 2 days. I need till next 7/4/26.
you got till tomorrow. Oh, 2 days. Yeah, you got 2 days actually.
But-
Yeah, forced Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's the same. I'd say the same. Like, you made the comment that I'm just trying to prove you wrong. Like, I mean, no, you might think that, but in reality, like, I just wanted you to see a different perspective in a way that could help. If gratitude was the peak of our bracket, find a way to, like, speak more on that around it than, like, everything that's wrong, I guess.
I'm grateful I have a decision to go to Denmark if I want.
I don't know if
I don't
Denmark
think you do. They
agrees
might
with
not
that.
accept your citizenship.
You're gonna need to call Denmark up and figure that one out.
I come from royalty. We'll be fine.
What else we got?
I don't know
I
where
think-
you would close on that one.
Yeah, I think we really covered all bases. Other points I had to make was more just about animals and their freedom as far as that. I mean, but
What are
I
you
think
doing
we
here?
kind of covered all bases.
What are we doing here, Liv? What do you mean animal freedom? You mean like the zoo?
Yeah,
Because
like
you're better than
captivity.
Oh god.
Yeah, like I don't believe in zoos. I believe in sanctuaries. I don't think for our entertainment we should look at animals
What
that
about
have.
like the good zoos?
Yeah, like a sanctuary, yes.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. If you're saving
What's the difference
animals,
between a sanctuary and a zoo?
they're dedicated. It's like a charity almost. Like it's not for people's like entertainment.
Oh,
What do
so
you
it's
think
like
about
a,
the Pittsburgh Zoo?
It's pretty spread out, and their I guess little captivities look pretty big, but I don't know. I mean,
Do you think it's like Madagascar where like they're like if they got sent back to their native country they would miss being in the zoo?
Yeah, like what if
Maybe.
that's my
Because
thought.
they
I
get
wanna
they
know
don't
how
have
the
to
animals
fight
feel.
for food.
maybe I think some animals make sense. Like yeah, dogs in our house or whatever. But I think more like the SeaWorld. Like why do you have an orca in a swimming pool? Like that has to be uncomfortable. Like and stuff like that where they're not in proper.
Yeah, like we
Enclosures.
should have to like take a boat and go on an expedition. Maybe, or-
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to visit them where they're at.
Yeah.
Not us putting them in a cage. Yeah.
Now like pay X amount of money and see this. Yeah, they're probably a little depressed because whales are super smart too. I mean, they're
Oh,
probably-
yeah.
Do we have freedom
Just only
in the
keep the
ocean?
dumb animals alive.
Do we-
Right, I love that.
Yeah, that's a good question. Do we have freedoms in the ocean? Or that's their world?
That's their home.
They're
And
not.
I'm not mad with
Because they
them
can
if I
kill and
attacked.
not get punished.
You gotta follow the laws of the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're in. Yeah, it's free game out there.
Yeah, I guess we don't even have full freedom in the ocean either because you
No
can't
country,
hunt certain
even.
things either.
Yeah, there's different laws for international waters.
Yeah. No, well, no, there is though actually, which is crazy why we're dictating bodies of water because that is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who dictates that? Because it's not a country.
So where are the lines drawn where it's like,
My guess is the UN.
I think it's open. It's open game in international waters, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought it was free game.
I know I could gamble out there. What?
The UN would make sense. You know, I'm sure there's like the Geneva Convention still in place there.
Yeah.
depends on what coast you're at though, because if you're coming up on the coast of Japan, like.
Well, I
think
just
the
watched.
Coast
That was
Guard
just a
said-
prison break last night because they were in international waters and trying
Yeah.
to sneak Michael back into the U.S.
Yeah.
And the SEALs came out to get him, and they diverted to like Marseille or something. I forget what country that is, but like yeah, they diverted to Marseille, so the SEALs had to leave, and they tried to bomb them before they got into like out of international waters.
There's actually, so it says like no single country has any sovereignty over international waters. There's a UNCLOS, United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, that establishes rules, but there are aspects that it's like open.
Is that where like pirates run around?
Yeah, I think there's like section of it. They're like, even this UNLC, what they don't have any involvement in it, which that's scary.
That is scary.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah, that's wild to think about.
Free the water, free the animals, free the people. Let them
go.
Free your mind.
For Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, my prayer then, I guess, are we wrapping it up?
Yeah.
Yep.
My prayer then is just that, yeah, you find true freedom. You find gratitude in the freedoms that we have, and that we remember that. You know, don't let it be centered around pride, but be centered around freedom to have opinions, freedom to speak openly with each other, and that we do that with love. But with that, have a blessed and happy Independence Day, all
Happy
who
4th.
all who want to celebrate it.